All right, so you know how it is, right? You want to like really understand something important, something really foundational. And I think we can all agree that the Bible is a pretty good example of something important and foundational.
Mm.
Today, we are diving deep into the Gospel of John. We have this really amazing book called Read, Mark, Learn, John, a small group Bible study.
By JJJude.
Yeah, exactly, by JJJude.
Yeah.
And our goal is to like pull out the most important parts of this study guide so you can understand the purpose and the best way to approach studying this part of the Bible. And so you don't get lost in the details.
Absolutely. The Gospel of John is a really profound and rich text, and this study guide does a really good job of unlocking its meaning. I think one of the most fascinating things about this text is the aim of the Gospel. The book pulls a quote from John chapter 20, verse 31. "These things are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name."
So powerful. That's the central message that we're going to be exploring
Yeah.
today through the lens of this guide. So read, mark, learn. It's not just about reading, though, right? What's the idea behind the series? What's it trying to equip you to do?
Right. It's trying to equip you to be an independent student of the Bible. The point is to give you the tools and the framework so you don't always need to rely on someone else to interpret Scripture for you. The aim of this book is to help you understand God's purpose for your life by engaging directly with the biblical text.
Wow, so important. I mean, sometimes I know I've felt like the Bible's a bit daunting, like you need some special decoder ring or something to figure it out.
Yeah.
But this sounds like a much more accessible way to get into it. And one of the things that really stood out to me in this book is its emphasis on studying Scripture within its context.
Yes.
Why is that so important?
Yeah.
Especially when we're trying to understand a text like the Gospel of John.
It's absolutely fundamental. It's like if you overhear a snippet of a conversation, you might totally misunderstand what's being said without knowing who's talking or where they are or what they're talking about. Same with Scripture. It's so important, especially in a world where people just pull out random verses to try to support their ideas. Understanding the context, the historical setting, the cultural background, the author's purpose in writing, those are your anchors.
Yeah.
It keeps us from twisting Scripture. It helps us to actually grasp what the intended meaning was. So, for instance, understanding the Jewish customs around meals in the first century, that could significantly change how you interpret some of Jesus's interactions.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great example. I think we've all seen those social media posts where they pull one verse out of context and use it to justify something that seems to go against the entire message of the Bible.
Exactly, yeah.
So how does Read, Mark, Learn actually guide you through this process of understanding the context and getting to the core lessons?
Yeah, so the book uses a really helpful structure for each study. It starts by helping you establish context. Who was the author writing to? What was going on at the time? What was the aim of the passage? It's like setting the scene before you dive into the specifics.
Okay, so you get your bearings before you start exploring. What's the next step in their approach?
Then it focuses on identifying the links between the New Testament passage you're looking at in John and the Old Testament. The study guide emphasizes that the New Testament isn't like a totally new story.
Nice.
It's a continuation and a fulfillment of what God started in the Old Testament. So understanding those connections can illuminate so much of what Jesus says and does. For example, this book might point out how John presents Jesus as the Passover lamb, which draws a direct line back to the Exodus story and reveals a deeper meaning to Jesus' sacrifice.
That connection between the testaments is always so powerful when you can see it, like all the pieces of a giant puzzle coming together.
Yeah.
After you have the context and those Old Testament links, what does the study guide help you to do next?
After laying the groundwork, it moves into extracting the key lessons from each part of the passage. It encourages you to dig into the text and ask, what are the main points the author's trying to communicate here? It's not just reading words. It's about wrestling with their meaning and significance.
Right, so it's prompting you to think critically about what you're reading.
Yeah.
And identify those central ideas.
Right.
And I'm guessing then it helps you figure out how those ideas apply to your own life.
Exactly. The final element of each study is suggesting practical applications. It bridges that gap between understanding this ancient text and living out its truths in our modern lives. It offers concrete suggestions on how those principles can shape your thoughts, your actions, your relationship with God, and with other people.
That practical application is so key. It's not just about intellectual understanding,
Right.
but about how it actually affects you, how it impacts you.
Yes.
This book is also described as being great for small group Bible study.
Mm.
What are some of the features that make it especially well suited for that?
Yeah, that's a great point. It includes conversational discussion starters. So it'll have questions that are meant to spark dialogue and encourage people in the group to share their different perspectives and insights.
Hmm.
It also provides questions for leading a Bible study group, which can be super helpful for whoever is in charge of that.
Yeah.
And there's a section that can be photocopied, things like key questions or outlines, so everyone in the group can have their own material to work with.
I love that photocopying idea. It just makes it so much easier for everyone to participate and really be a part of the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the book description also mentions that Read, Mark, Learn has been used successfully internationally for over 30 years.
Wow.
I mean, that kind of longevity says something.
It really does. That 3-decade track record and its international reach says a lot about its effectiveness, helping people engage with the Bible in a meaningful way. And it's worth noting that the series was developed by St. Helens Bishopsgate. It's a really well-respected church in London that's known for its strong biblical teaching. So you get a sense of the theological foundation behind this book.
So it's coming from a place with a really deep commitment to biblical understanding. And finally, looking at how this book is listed online, we see keywords like Bible study guide, Christian Bible study books, New Testament Bible study, and paperback. What do these terms tell us about who this book is for and what it's about?
Those keywords really give you a clear picture. Bible study and Bible study guide right away tell you that this is a resource for people who are serious about studying the Bible. Christian Bible study books obviously specifies the religious perspective. New Testament Bible study narrows it down to the second part of the Bible. And then the title itself obviously lets you know it's about the Gospel of John. Paperback just tells you the physical format. So all of those keywords confirm that this is a tool for Christians who want to understand the Gospel of John more deeply, whether they're doing it on their own or with other people.
All right, so bringing it all together, this deep dive into Read, Mark, Learn, John shows us that this study guide offers a really structured and context-driven way to explore the Gospel of John. It guides you through understanding the setting, connecting it to the Old Testament, like we were talking about with Jesus being the Passover lamb,
Right.
pulling out those important lessons and then thinking about how to apply them to your life. It's designed for both personal and group study, and it has this amazing proven track record, like you said, 30 years.
It really does. It acts as a guide for anyone who wants to navigate the truths of John's Gospel in a way that is both intellectual and transformative.
Absolutely. So as you think about your own journey with Scripture, or really any important text you might encounter, think about this. How does paying attention to the historical and cultural and literary context, the world in which it was written, how does that affect how you understand and appreciate its message? And how might identifying the connections to foundational stories or ideas unlock even more meaning? It's something to think about as you continue your own deep dives. Thanks for exploring this with us today.
Absolutely.
See you next time.
Yeah, see you next time.